Well, joining us now is trial attorney Stephanie Sherman of the Wisner-Baum law firm, which filed the first federal lawsuit on behalf of the families of 3 children who survived that mass shooting. Thanks so much for being with us.
Yeah, thank you. Looking forward, we had a guest on earlier on the show, and she said that if there aren't any criminal investigations that happen after this, if there aren't any more lawsuits that are filed after this report, then it would be really shocking to her. So legally, what does the path look like going forward?
This is a 600-page report. It's scathing. It's a call to action. But now what? Now what? Okay, so the report confirmed what we'd already known, that this was an epic failure of law enforcement. It was an epic failure of the school. The shooter should have never entered that school, and he entered the school unabated, without any kind of locking system that worked on the door. He was just able to leisurely walk into the school. Okay, so then once he's in there, within 3 minutes, we have law enforcement at the school. They try to get the shooter, and then they immediately retreat, and then over an hour goes by. So this is one of the most egregious examples of failure by the law enforcement, and they knew better, and they were actually trained on the tactical response required for an active shooter situation. So responsibility is clear. But now what? Because we don't have indictments. We have very few terminations. In fact, I think there's only been 5 terminations of officers. These officers are walking around the community. Families see them in grocery stores. Families see them out on the streets. They're on the government payroll. They're still employed, and families are without their children. They're suffering with children with survivors that have chronic PTSD. They don't want to go to school. Moms and dads have had to stay home from work to take care of their children. And this is a working class community. So now what? I think that's the most urgent question on everybody's mind in Uvalde.
Does any of this rise to the level of criminal negligence and who has jurisdiction? Losing your job is one thing. That seems to be the least of the ramifications. In the criminal sense, what is the path forward, if there is one, and who's running that show?
So who's running that show is the district attorney in Uvalde. And I'm a civil trial lawyer, so that is not my bag as far as criminal. I do know Texas law, and I do know that in my view, this rises to the level of criminally negligent homicide. And it also rises to the level of injury to a child. So the district attorney Uvalde has several options. She has the evidence. I can't speculate when or how she's going to make a call, but she's got enough evidence to move forward with indictments. And I think that is definitely what the families want to see.
And you have to imagine, I mean, just the pressure from the community and all eyes in other parts of the country looking at what she does next is going to be just massive. Your firm, though, was representing the families of 3 children who survived. Attorney General Merrick Garland met with the families on Wednesday before this report was released. What has been the reaction from the families that you have talked to? Our correspondent, when this report came out, said every time there is a document dump or a news conference, anything like that, it reopens wounds. What are your clients thinking right now?
It is re-traumatizing, Alex, because think about the situation, and this is what the Attorney General actually pointed out. One of the things that he called out in this report is the failures that continued after the shooter was dead. The continued failures, the lack of compassion to the families, the lack of accurate information, the conflicting narratives, the lack of information. And my young client, Gilberto, who was a survivor that was shot, he actually was put on a bus instead of sent to medical care. And the parents, they had to grab him off the bus. And there's actually footage of that, of them taking young Gilberto off the bus through the window to get him to medical care. So that highlights that there was no leadership on triaging the victims and the survivors immediately after. It was pure chaos. And that is really, now what? And we are here in 2024, many decades after Columbine, and this is still happening. And I think, like I said, the most urgent question is, what are we going to do about it? Yes, the report is great. It's a scathing review, But now what? Some of the families I've heard them say, we want sensible gun laws. We want accountability. We want justice. We want indictments. In Texas, even though I'm a civil trial lawyer, I can't sue the police outright or the school outright because they have immunity from lawsuits. So what is the path to accountability and change? That's what we're trying to motivate and embolden everyone to do. And I think, like the parent said in your recording, is the DOJ stamp on this report, maybe that'll light some fires.
Well, it sounds like the next step in all of this, if there is a major next step, is in the hands of that local DA. Yeah. And I would imagine, as you said, extraordinary community pressure to do something for those still grieving families for whom this report only deepens the wounds. What is just a heartbreaking story at every level. Trial attorney Stephanie Sherman, thank you so much for giving us some time and some legal insight. Please come back as things progress. Appreciate your time.
Thank you, guys. Have a great day. Thank you.